Hi there, welcome to Build Your Best Brand, a free monthly virtual education series brought to you by Embellished Brands. I am your host, Jamie Wright, founder and CEO of Embellished Brands, and I help women to build and lead impactful organizations. Well, what is an impactful organization, you might be asking? Well, I define it as a small business or nonprofit organization doing work that matters by bringing positive change to the world. That positive change can be whatever it is that you decide the world needs, and you are building the services and products to do the thing. And I certainly would love to help small businesses and nonprofits do what matters to them. And I believe that building a strong brand foundation for your organization is essential because it helps create clarity and focus for achieving your mission and business goals. So today on Build Your Best Brand, we're talking about loving, liking, or loathing your brand. Your best brand should be a brand that you love, not one that's fine or good enough. So how do you know when your brand is due for an update? That's what we're going to walk through today. We're going to take that brand evaluation checklist that was linked with this video so you can gain clarity on what, if any, brand improvements are needed after you complete the exercise. And through that exercise, we'll discover if you love, like, or loathe your organization's brand. So, what we are ultimately attempting to do with this checklist is first to understand the full scope of what your brand encompasses. So I'll talk a little bit about the different elements of your brand that I want you to make sure you're considering as you're doing this review. We'll also clarify what you are saying versus what you are doing inside your brand. And it may come as a shock to you, but very often there is a disconnect between the things we say about our brand because it's, we created the mission statement or vision statement, and we know in our head the things that our brand should be, but how we are implementing that brand and living it out on a day-to-day basis sometimes is different. We're also going to identify key areas where your attention is needed in your business or your nonprofit. And ultimately, we're looking at all of these parts and pieces because we want to bring alignment between them and bring that alignment back into your brand so it is more cohesive and you are able to more consistently represent your brand in the marketplace. All right, so let's talk about that brand evaluation checklist. First, we're going to start by reviewing core beliefs. So these core beliefs are what we'll discuss here with each question, but I like to refer to them as your foundational brand elements. These are in some ways corporate statements. So if you file corporate paperwork, you might have a statement in there that says our mission statement is this. You might have a vision statement. You might have just some things that you've really decided, this is what I want this organization to be and to do or to feel like, or how we're going to do our work. So all of those things are what we want to analyze here. And the loose term that I created for it is we're calling these core beliefs. So first, I want you to consider whether your mission statement is still appropriate for the current scope of your organization's products or services, culture, economy, and or target audience. So there's a lot of pieces here. Let's break it down just a little bit. The reason why I'm saying still appropriate for the current scope is because things change. So depending on how long ago you created your mission statement or maybe last reviewed your mission statement, there could be that disconnect that I alluded to in a previous slide where what the original intent was may not be what's happening now. So you want to go back and look at your mission statement and consider whether its influence or impact is being seen currently through different areas of your organization, whether you're a business or a nonprofit, the services you're providing, products you might be developing, the culture inside your organization, what's going on outside in the economy, and your target audience. Sometimes our target audience can change over time as well. And so what we originally had as a core belief or a foundational element it might need to be updated to represent a change with the audience that we are now serving, if it has changed from who we were initially serving. Likewise, if you have a vision statement, not everyone does, but if you do, we also want to look at that. Is your vision statement still appropriate for the current mission of what you're doing and the scope of services you're providing? You could also take a look at whether the vision statement is appropriate with the products or services, the culture, economy, or target audience, as discussed in the previous question. But generally, since your vision statement is a larger, more overarching belief or statement, that's why I initially said to just see how it works with your mission statement and the scope of services, as those are also larger, more overarching elements as well. Then we want to look at what the motivation is behind your organization's mission and vision statements. So sometimes we start a business for a very specific reason, and that motivation, it was really helpful in the beginning, but maybe the motivation isn't appropriate or applicable as the organization grows and evolves. Likewise with nonprofits. There's usually an altruistic reason why a nonprofit is established. So we want to revisit the core motivation behind the organization and see if that element needs to be updated as well. Then we want to look at the core values that you have. If you have stated very specific core values for your organization and the culture, are those still appropriate for what the current mission, vision, and scope of services is? And of course, if you like, you could also do a deeper dive and see if the core values are appropriate for the delivery of services or products, or if it's appropriate with your current target audience. So you can drill this down as deep as you would like, but ultimately we're looking to make sure that these foundational elements are relating well to each other. But again, this is your exercise, so you could dive as deep as you need to, or you could keep it as shallow as you would like. But ultimately, you want, as you kind of analyze all of these different parts and pieces and examine how they might fit together, you want to come to an understanding of whether all of these items, these core beliefs, align with each other. It's possible that the longer your organization has existed, that there might be some parts that do not work well together anymore, because there may have been a natural evolution of sorts, maybe with your core values, but your original mission statement doesn't reflect that evolution. So you just want to see kind of the status of where everything is, and see if there's anything that just doesn't fit well together anymore, and make a note of those items. We will come back to that, I promise. So now let's look at products and services. Do your current products and or services represent your organization's mission and vision? Some of you have just services, some of you have just products, and some of you have both products and services. And again, this kind of relates back to a little bit the motivation that we talked about on the previous slide and the why behind your organization. So we want to take a look at your current offerings and compare those offerings to your mission and vision statements. So are your offerings reflective of the mission and vision, and vice versa? Is your mission and vision reflective of the things that you are currently offering? And if not, there might be an opportunity where you need to, to finesse some of those things to make sure that they are supportive of each other. And if you have any planned product, or service changes that are coming in the future, will those changes represent your organization's mission and vision? So again, we're just looking for consistency, not only with what you're currently doing, but if you've got plans in the future, before you implement those changes, we want to make sure that those changes are in alignment with your organization's core beliefs. And then note, what, if anything, is out of alignment between your products and or services and the core beliefs above? While these questions only specifically reference mission and vision, as I stated before, you could still drill this down deeper. You could look at whether your motivation or your core values are reflected in your products and services. So again, keep it as shallow as you want, or take the analysis deeper to really dive in and get down into the nitty gritty details. It's absolutely your choice here, but I think you'll probably find that you'll definitely get out of it what you put into it. So now we're going to take a look at your target audience. So we want to look first at the target audience you're currently serving. So if you are selling products, if you have some demographic data, if you have purchasing data, you've got a lot of numbers you can look at, that would be helpful to do an analysis. If you're providing services, you want to maybe look at a customer profile that you where anything that any details on your customers that you might be able to pull out and pop into a spreadsheet or something like that. But we want to take a look at who is the audience, what are the details of the audience that you're currently serving. And this is just purely a factual analysis. Then we want to look at the audience you desire to serve. The ones maybe you think you're serving, or the ones that are your goal. And then what we will need to do is compare the two. Are the people you're currently serving your desired audience? And if not, how do you turn your target audience into, how do you transition from who you're currently serving into the people you desire to serve? So these are just some questions where you'll need to go find out some information and do that analysis to make sure that who you think you're serving or who you want to serve is truly the audience you actually are serving. Then I want you to jot down some thoughts about how well you know and understand your desired audience. Because sometimes we think we know, but we don't really. And so this is just an exercise for you to kind of brain dump a little bit and check yourself and see, do I really know and understand my desired target audience? And if you do, that's going to make your ability to serve them much easier. But if you don't, then you've got to maybe change some things or get some more information so then you can better serve that desired audience you're going after. So then that leads us right into this last question here about noting some ways that you will A, learn about, and then B, reach your desired audience moving forward. Now let's take a look at your brand messaging. In words, again, this is just a checklist, so you could do this exercise in a journal or in a Word document or pen and paper, however you prefer to do this. But I want you to write down and describe your organization to someone who has never heard of it before. And what we're going to do, because I'm assuming that the person who is listening to this right now is the person who is the face of the organization, or at least a prominent face of the organization. So you get to share about your organization with your audience. So we want to see if what you're saying to people, if it aligns with your mission and or vision statements. Does it align with your core values? Does it align with your desired target audience? We want to see if, sometimes we get into patterns, or, we are creatures of habit as humans. So sometimes you might just have a spiel or your elevator pitch that you crafted. You might just be so used to saying something about your organization, but maybe not realizing that what you're saying maybe isn't as accurate as it could be. Or again, it may have worked in the past, but things have evolved, and now this is just an exercise to see if it's something you need to update. Then I want you to take a look at your messaging across all of your communication channels. Is it consistent? There are occasions where you might have a slightly different audience based on the particular communication channel. So yes, you would want to adapt your messaging slightly to accommodate for that, but the essence of your messages should be the same or relatively consistent across all the channels. So take a look at your emails, take a look at your different social media channels, take a look at, wherever your business is and wherever you're publishing content and getting the word out. Check the messaging and make a determination if it's consistent across the board. And if not, why is it not consistent? And then make some notes about what else could be improved about your current messaging. Do you not like the use of certain words, or is there a tone? Is it too casual? Is it too professional? Just anything that you think could be improved, just make a note of it. Now let's look at brand design. We want to see if your existing brand elements are being used consistently. And so with the brand elements that I'm talking about here are the visual ones. So that's your logo, maybe a tagline, maybe an icon or logo mark, patterns or other graphical assets, fonts even, whatever you use to visually communicate about your brand to your audience. Are those elements being used consistently? And I would say take a look at whether the elements you're using are the quote unquote official elements, or if they are items that, may have just kind of made their way into your brand repertoire over time, right? So you may need to make some decisions about whether you're going to officially adopt those things as official brand elements, or if you need to revert back to what is the quote unquote official visual elements for your brand. So we're just doing a check to clean up here. But then we also want to see if the current visual elements of your brand accurately reflect or communicate your brand message to your desired target audience. So again, did we stray from the original look? And if we did, was that an improvement or was that a detriment? Make some notes about what you like about your current brand design and then what could be improved about your current brand design. And then I want to know if you have recently surveyed your audience for feedback about your brand. And by recent, I mean within the last 3 to 6 months, because you could make a lot of decisions based on your own opinion or some opinions from your team. But ultimately, it's great to get feedback from your desired target audience. And so doing a simple survey or just some focus groups, or just really reaching out and asking people for their opinions on a few of these brand elements would give you probably some really good insight. And then as you're kind of going through this process, if there's anything else that came up for you, note it. If there's something you're questioning or you're kind of wondering about, if there's a concern that came up for you, and then even just a general feeling about the brand. When you're looking at it, feelings are important here. Our gut oftentimes will be an indicator, even if we don't totally understand that gut feeling. Just note though that you have the feeling, and maybe you'll be able to figure out exactly what it was down the road. But if there's just anything else about your brand that you're just questioning or pondering, or whatever adjective you want to throw in there, or verb rather, then just go ahead and write it down so you don't forget it. So now that you've worked through the worksheet and you've jotted down some notes and you've got some ideas, you did some analysis, what are we going to do with those responses? Well, the overarching goal is to bring all of these pieces of your brand that we looked at into alignment with each other. There really is not a one-size-fits-all solution to polishing up your brand. The process of doing that is going to be specific to your organization. But as a general rule of thumb, the greater the disconnect that exists between the formal brand elements, so like the things maybe you've started out with, that formal mission statement, that logo that was designed, or the brand colors that the designer told you to use, all of the things that were official decisions at one point, and then the things that you are actually using and or doing these days related to your brand. The greater the disconnect that exists between those things, the higher the likelihood that your brand might need some fixing up and polishing. So based on your responses to the checklist, Do you love, like, or loathe your organization's brand? Well, it's hard to quantify. So let me just give you a little bit of a measurement system, if you will, to help you kind of figure this out. If you love it, really there's no action that's needed. Everything feels like it's really well connected, it's all aligned. So we really just need to stay the course and continue soaking up all the brand love that your target audience is giving you. If you feel like you like the brand, it's not bad, but it maybe not be great. You probably have a really good brand foundation, and a small refresh would just make some key adjustments to certain specific things to just help all of the brand elements come together better. So it's not bad, but it could be better. If you're just feeling like you're just loathing the brand, let's do a full stop. Okay, that your brand is probably missing alignment within key elements and maybe even a connection with your target audience. And this is where you might consider doing a full rebrand to help you more effectively share your organization's mission with the world. That's all I have for you today. Thank you so much for being with me to learn how to build your best brand. Again, my name is Jamie Wright, and you can find me on social media at Embellished Brands. And if you are interested in having somebody walk with you through this process, or even helping you understand the results of your work through this checklist, you are welcome to schedule a strategy session with me, and there's a code on your screen where you can take $75 off our regular strategy session fee. Thank you again for being here today, and we'll see you next time.